A couple years ago, investing and making money was as easy as waking up and brushing your teeth. Anyone could do it. Nowadays, it's as risky as going to the slot machines in Las Vegas because nothing's ever guaranteed. Welcome back to my channel. It's Nazik with Arshia. I'm Arshia Mani. Today we'll be discussing 5 simple rules that will hopefully help you on your investing journey. Are you ready? Let's go. Okay, so rule number 1 of investing. Don't actually start investing until you're ready to do it. Just like if you're a gamer, you have to give your avatar the best tools to maximize your probabilities of winning before you start playing the game. The traditional rule of thumb is to start as early as possible. As soon as you turn 18, get a Roth IRA account and start investing inside of that account. Try to aim for $6,000 a year because if you can do $500 a month starting at age 18, you can then become a millionaire by age 52, which is really impressive. Of course, by then, that $1 million will not be worth as much as it does today thanks to inflation. But the more important thing people don't tell you is that no one really cares about old people and their millions. The only time wealth and money have ever mattered to the world is that if that person is really good looking or just really young. Take Justin Bieber, for example. He was a millionaire by age 14. That's really impressive. But would you ever look at Bill Gates and say, how many billions does he have at 67? You wouldn't, right? Elderly people just want their rent paid and they absolutely do not care whether you have a Lamborghini or a Lexus. So just treat money as a way to get freedom rather than to get your status. Now, chances are you're not going to be able to put aside $500 a month when you're 18 because of the fact that you are 18. And whatever money you might have saved in your account with you will go a lot farther when you invest that money in yourself rather than the market. A really good example for this is to spend that money to learn a skill or to get a career that pays really well right now. That means having a job in the medical field or maybe even the tech space. Rule number 2 of investing is to get a game plan together and figure out where your money is going to make you the most money. For most people, that means paying off their high interest rate loans. This GoBanking survey actually found that 30% of Americans owe credit card debt between $1,000 to $5,000. Now, the average interest rate on a credit card right now is over 20%. That's pretty high. But here's a seemingly odd question. If you don't have credit card debt, how else would you know that your loans carry a high interest rate? You would compare it to the opportunity cost of your loans and investing into something like the stock market where you can expect to get anywhere between 8 to 10% per year on average. So even the stock market can't outdo the credit card market. Just compare it to the credit card and the stock market. If your loans are higher than 8 to 10% or anywhere near that, then please pay off the loans first. Unfortunately, credit card companies have figured out that it was way better for them to invest their money into us, or the United States, rather than into the stock market itself. That's why you should never carry a balance, pay off the loans in full, and never, ever trust your credit card companies. Just kidding. The third rule of investing is to know the basics. One of the basics of investing is to set your expectations, and this one is one of my favorites. Here's why. Let's say there's a guy, let's call him Bob, okay? Bob goes to the Nike store every 3 months and spends $150 on new shoes each time. Sally, on the other hand, takes $150 every 3 months and puts it into the Nike stock. Fast forward to 10 years later, and Bob owns 40 pairs of used, worn shoes, while Sally is a proud owner of Nike stock worth $22,350 and gets $170 a year in dividends. And those dividends are still growing. The point I'm trying to make is that investing is not about becoming rich or even showing that you are rich. Investing is about getting freedom for yourself. And the earlier you can start investing and the more seriously you can take it that way, the earlier you can get that freedom. Setting your expectations is a big part of investing because good investing is actually really easy. All it is just time and money. And that's it. Another part of this rule, and this one is really important, is to remember that you cannot possibly beat the market, so don't try. But what about Warren Buffett? Buffett tells everyone don't buy individual stocks and does exactly that. But that's also Warren Buffett, and he's been doing it his whole life, and he was one of the first to do it way back when the stock market was a lot less complicated than today. Unless you use up your entire life to value stocks and you want to do that, it's probably not a good idea to try and beat the market. Well, what is the market then? When people say the market, they mean this stock right here. VOO. Now, V stands for Roman numeral number 5, and then the zeros are 500. Now, this is what's called an ETF stock. But what's an ETF? An ETF is an exchange traded fund, and it's called that because by owning the stock, you're then owning a basket of stocks, which in this case are the top 500 companies in the US. That's basically the market. Think of a bag of chips. You're just buying one bag of chips, right? That's one stock. But if you buy a variety pack of chips, that's an ETF. Now, sometimes the market is also considered this stock right here, VTI. This basket of chips or stocks is also an ETF, and it represents the whole US stock market, thousands of stocks. The difference between VTI and VOO in the long term is very, very small, so they're both considered the market. Now, professionals will pay a shockingly insane amount of money to try to learn to beat this market, aka the stocks we just saw. But you might have heard that over 90% of the professionals can't, and that's actually true. But this statistic also implies, well, 90% can't do it, but 10% can, and maybe I'm special. But no one can just beat the market consistently. You might be able to do it once, maybe twice, or maybe 5 times in a row, but no one has been able to beat the market over a 30 to 40 year career period. Now, what's interesting is that in this part of seemingly skeptical rule, there's also the answer to this question: what's the best thing to invest my money into? For stocks, we know maybe it's VOO or VT or VTI or some variation of these stocks. But what about in general? Is it real estate? Is it other stocks? Is it Bitcoin? Check out this chart spanning the last 200 years, which shows that the stock market has outpaced everything else. But why do people say that real estate is the best wealth building tool in the world for the middle class? Well, that's because for every dollar you invest in real estate, you can borrow 5 against it. This is called leverage, and it's risky, but can be extremely powerful if used correctly. Now, you don't have to decide between real estate or crypto or anything else. You can have all that stuff. But what's interesting about the stock market is that even though it's supposed to return between 8 to 10% per year on average, research shows that the average investor only gets about 2% per year. That's because everyone tries to time the market by buying low and selling high, thinking that they're part of that special 10% that can sometimes beat the market. Unfortunately, we're not special, and by we, I mostly mean I. Cue the animated sad face. Rule number 4 of investing is to diversify in the most random stocks and then beg the universe for survival. No, I'm kidding. But with the world of investing, there are 2 ways to diversify. You can diversify within an asset class, and you can diversify among them. In an asset class, like the stock market, by owning one stock, which is VOO or VTI or VT, you can diversify and own several hundred, if not several thousand stocks. By owning just one stock, you're fully diversified and you don't need to own any more stocks because these are ETFs after all. But among asset classes means maybe you want to own some stocks, some bonds, some real estate, whatever you're comfortable with. And asset classes in this case just basically mean different ways to invest. There's no definite rule when it comes to diversifying among different investments, but when it comes to stocks, however, there is a loose rule that says that as you get older, you should adjust your portfolio. Adjust is a fancy way of saying that you should sell some of your stocks and convert them to bonds. When people say bonds, they're referring to BND, which is the ETF version of VBTLX, Vanguard's Total Bond Market Index Fund. Studies show that owning bonds in your portfolio increases your risk-adjusted returns, but lowers your overall expected returns. This is just another fancy way of saying that bonds will give you a big hug, tell you, oh, it's going to be okay, everything's okay, by smoothing out the ride on those bumpy days. But you will make less money having bonds in your portfolio than going all into stocks. Now, if you're somebody who's afraid of the volatility and doesn't like the whole bumpy ride of owning stocks, then owning some bonds could be very helpful. Personally, it depends for me. One day I feel strong, but maybe tomorrow I wake up, I see I'm down, and I'll say, sell everything! Knock on wood, this will never happen. If you like bonds, there's a loose general rule of thumb that says you can take 110 and subtract your age to figure it out. Let's say that if I'm 20 right now, I would do 110 minus 20, and that would be 90. So that would mean 90% stocks and 10% bonds. Rule number 5 of investing is one of those good rules I wish that every investor knew about. And that will always be a good sounding reason to quit playing the investing game. And like all video games, sometimes that's a good idea. You should quit, maybe go live a life. But when it comes to investing, it is generally never a good idea to stop investing. Check out this chart. It shows that the stock market keeps going up despite major global conflicts, major recessions, interest rates going up, and currency crises. What's not shown on this graph are YouTubers telling you that you should sell. I'm not gonna lie to you, sometimes our kind sound pretty convincing. I know, from our planet. Another thing that can make a convincing distraction, other than us, is people from the political planet. But researchers show that regardless of who's in power, whether it's just Republicans or Democrats, the market still continues to go up constantly. Anyway, just remember that because the next time you hear, this time it's going to be different, it's going to scare you. It is going to scare you. It scared me when the pandemic happened. Everyone's saying that the world will turn upside down. But again, research just time and time again shows that the stock market keeps going up. So just remember that if you want to get those 8 to 10% per annum returns, you have to be prepared to fasten your seatbelt for the turbulence that's going to come. The stock market will be down 30, 40, 50, even as much as 80% in some years. But that's just how the stock market works. In the long term, the average is how you win. The average is king. The longer you hold on and stay invested, the higher the odds of you making money will be. For example, if you stay invested in the markets consistently for, let's say, 15 years, the odds of you having more money than when it started, 99.8%. Additionally, it goes all the way up to 100% in a 20-year rolling period. Investing can be a 100% guarantee as long as you have enough time and energy and stamina to pull through it. Unfortunately, it doesn't mean that your money is going to 3x, 4x, or 10x in that span of 20 years. It just means you'll have more than when you started your journey. That also means you can make only a couple dollars more, and that would qualify for the rule. But hopefully, it means you'll make a lot more. It could even be 20 or 10 long years before you see $1 in profit after inflation. But in the end, remember that going in, and the earlier you can start with yourself, the earlier you're ready, the faster you can get to the 20-year period. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope this video left you with some new valuable insights. See you in the next one.